which means that there is a chance, obviously, that a Grandmaster who gets relegated has earned enough money throughout the Masters Tour year to actually get back in if they do well enough. But SilverName doesn't play in them, so if he gets relegated, yes, he can. He will be at Worlds, of course. He already has that spot locked in. But if he does get relegated, well, he isn't coming back next season because he just can't, right?
I mean, same thing's true for Boar. He does play Masters Tours, but he 0-2 drops every time, so it's not really like he's in a much better position.
That is true. Let's get into this game, though. SilverName on the Druid on the bottom there. It is that Malygos version, and BoarControl on the top on that 2-off Priest. So a matchup that's just a little bit better than it would be if Boar was piloting the Highlander variant.
My blood be born again.
Tempo, tempo, tempo from the side of BoarControl here. And he does find a pretty reasonable tempo option, I guess. It's not a great minion, but it's something to play next turn and actually ramp up the pressure against SilverName.
Yeah, that's it, I think. However, this may be oversimplified. Just having minions to play against an early game Druid just seems good, right? You just want something to play. You definitely don't want to get that hero power pass.
Probably pick Geppetto here? Or just making sure to make notes. I do like this. I think it's actually very powerful, just to make sure you're remembering all the information that you get handed in Priest matchups. Because now he's going to make a pick here, and he's going to get knowledge of one card that is in the opponent's hand and two cards that aren't. There you go. Further notes.
And it is good, because you might think, surely you can just remember that. But there's a lot going on, and there are also just times where you just blank and just have that short-term memory loss at some point where you're like, wait, what was the cards again? And then suddenly you're in a mess that you don't have to be. So yeah, I do like this from BoarControl. Just making sure nice and early in the game, it's keeping track of everything. Early Apotheosis coming down though. He's going to give SilverName a bit more of a board to try and deal with. Investing the coin into a Twilight Runner, which will, of course, most times convert that into some card draw as well. Slowly working up to a pretty scary looking hand. Double swipe Malygos, Moonfire, and the Omu with that Bloom. It's a lot of damage potential, but it's just still a long way off with no ramp yet.
Yeah, it is, right? Like, it's the kind of hand where if your next card is Overgrowth, like, you've just won the game because you have the full combo already, basically. But if you have to just sit around and wait for that point, you might end up in trouble. Breath of Dreams is kind of the halfway house in that situation.
So then just look at the 4-5 there. Just taking it. He does lose his runner as well, but that is just by far the biggest threat on board. The Pyromancer will end up killing off the board for him if Boar needs to cast any spells generally. So
right.
I do like that trade overall, honestly. Just removes the most frustrating minion to deal with.
And just go again. I think the Breath of Dreams can probably wait until next turn at this point. Gives him 2 extra draws, a turn faster for that Overgrowth, which can still be relevant, or Overflow for Guardian Animals for anything that can be super impactful next turn. Sandhoof say go. Is there any value to a Cleric of Scales here?
It's tough, right? Because the Sandhoof just means that the runner gets a good target to trade into, where it doesn't actually have one right now.
I would like classify that as playing the Sandhoof potentially kills the runner if he wants to actually make that trade.
Sure.
All right, who's thirsty?
Yeah, maybe I'm overestimating the heal factor of the Sandhoof.
It's just a 5/5. Go face, hit him real hard. That's the plan.
And now SilverName going, right, how much damage can I do this turn? Still a little bit early, but he's getting there. And the big question is, when does he have to at least think about using these swipes defensively? Because he is getting beaten up a little bit.
He is, yeah. He's going to drop the Bloom here just to make space in hand for the 2 card draws. Does now find the Guardian Animals. Perfection here. Can win this board back now, nice and clean. 14 health, definitely enough of a buffer to be playing with against Priest, you would imagine. And drop this Nature Studies afterwards for the discount next turn instead.
Time waits for no one.
And it's looking like the aggro plan has kind of hit its limit for Boar now.
Yeah. It's... There's not even a good follow-up, is there? He has to rely on this cleric next turn. It's of course the card off the top, but nothing looks too great in the immediate future, and the problem with that is SilverName, we can see, is just getting ever closer to just comboing BoarControl out of this game.
Yeah.
Ray's dead? Get him another Sandhoof to play?
He really just wanted the wave of apathy here, right?
Yeah. Can he ever... Does Smite ever help out with, like... No, it doesn't quite work, does it? Okay. I was wondering about whether, you know, you could, like, kill one of the taunts and then try and steal the minion that comes out of it if it's in, you know, the attack range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just didn't quite add up. I do like overall just that Ray's dead.
Alright, again. Wave of apathy this time? No.
Soul Mirror, just because if these live, then you can maybe get some more minions next turn.
Picks correctly that turn.
Pretty big deal as well for that overflow.
It is
Oh,
a big
wait.
deal, yeah.
Okay, not lethal yet, but close.
Yeah, I mean, it's weirdly getting there, right? Like, even though SilverName only has 7 natural mana and only 5 of it is available.
Oh.
Alright. Boar's dead.
Yeah, that looks like kind of lethal to me. Overgrowth this turn, go face for 8. And then next turn, play all of your cards and kill your opponent. Seems like a good plan overall.
I wonder.
SilverName just going through the hand is a, you know, a lengthy combo, I guess, to just work out exactly, okay, I'll do this, this, into this, into this, into that, win, done.
Right.
It's worth working out. He's got the time.
Yeah. I guess he actually does have the Innovate for next turn anyway, so the 10 hard mana crystals aren't actually required here.
Right. I just wondered if it was a decent usage of mana anyway. Like, did these 1/2s do much? I guess they could lifesteal for a bit, keep him alive. But overall, I just don't think it should matter.
It's just potentially 2 extra damage as well if something spectacular happens on Boar's side, right? The Boar does have to worry about. I think it's fine. The fact that
extra healing into Soul Mirror.
That's true, yeah. No, the fact that the extra crystal isn't required, though. I like the way SilverName's approached it.
Could go Cabal Apotheosis this turn. Doesn't feel great, but it's something. So I think if he was going to Soul Mirror, he already would have, right?
I wonder. Quickly.
It's worth remembering, of course, that Boar has the knowledge that the Mali's in hand. That's what he was noting down on turn 2 with the Envoy of Lazul. So, you know, his threat level is pretty high right now. Not sure he can account for all of the tools being available in SilverName's hand right now. Innovate first, so you don't waste the spell burst. That's important here. Yep. Omu, Germination.
GG.
He knows what he's doing. Mali, Moonfire for the second refresh.
And go and BoarControl.
Yep.
Yep, don't really know what to do, and honestly, SilverName just had the time, right? He did draw obviously a good chunk of his combo relatively early in the game, but BoarControl didn't manage to force a swipe out or force anything out of him to make that maybe not as straightforward. So instead there, SilverName is going to take game number one victory with that Malygos Druid there, and a pretty straightforward one actually based on just what we saw.
Yeah, it's one of those weird games. We've seen one or two of them before in GM where you don't really do the classic Druid thing of like ramp into Guardian Animals, into Overflow, into draw your deck, into combo your opponent. You just draw the combo in like the first 10 cards, and then you just wait to use it, which is basically all we saw happen there from SilverName. Boar just kind of had the vanilla matchup progression of just trying to aggro as hard as he possibly could. Envoy of Azul on curve, Pyromancer on curve, Sandhoof on curve, every minion that he can possibly play. Just try and push as much damage as you can. Try and get a swipe out of your opponent's hand. Try and get some kind of panic reaction out of your opponent so you have a little bit more stability in the late game. Or just try and kill your opponent. But I think that particular option is quite rare when you're playing Priest, but it just didn't work out. It was quite some way off.
Yeah, he got close-ish, but then the Twilight Runners came out to play and not only acted as removal, but then continued card draw for SilverName, of course. But that means he is going to be 1-0 up and one step closer to scrubbing that 0-win record that he has so far in this season of Grandmasters Round Robin. We are going to go to a quick break while we set up our game number 2, so don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Hearthstone Grandmasters.
I would rather be the funniest person in the room at this very moment. Long term it would be better to be the smartest, but it's just about the moment.
Funniest person in the room. Funniest?
I would rather be the most funniest person in the room.
I'd probably rather be the most intelligent person. Actually, if you're the most intelligent person in the room, you're in the wrong room. That's what they say.
If you're the most intelligent person in the room, then you're probably also going to be very sad. But if you're the funniest person in the room, then you're going to make everybody laugh and everybody's going to have a great time. So I'd rather have that.
Yeah, I'd still rather be the most intelligent and the most funny person in the room.
I think other people are more funny than me, and I would rather be just the smartest guy there, and if we play a game, I would rather just outplay them.
Intelligence is very nice, but happiness is more important, and I think also actually with happiness or with a lot of intelligence comes together as well.
I think I am both, so... That's a nice answer.
Welcome back, everyone. We have BoarControl versus SilverName continuing right now, and it's going to be in game number 2. SilverName currently leading The quick win with that Malygos Druid kind of building the combo for him does mean he has a Warrior and Mage left over to go against BoarControl's lineup. So still, they're very, very doable here for SilverName to put that first win on the board.
Yeah, he's certainly off to a good start, at least, picking up a win with the Mali Druid. He got the decent matchup for it, going up against the Priest, so he'll be pretty happy with that, getting it over the line. But, Boar still has a pretty solid lineup here, and he still has the deck that he's chosen to leave up. It doesn't necessarily mean he's targeting it or he's super favored against it or anything, but, you quite often look at a series like that and go, well, a win's been achieved and they still have Warrior up. But, remember, Boar has a pretty logical strategy as to why he is leaving up this Warrior in this position.
Yeah, and looking at it is going to be Priest once again from BoarControl going up against that Warrior as well. So what are the big benefits here, and how do you feel about this matchup? Because I feel like we saw Bomb Warrior get very popular to beat Priest. That was initially very popular, but the Priest has gone through a few levels of evolution since then, right? And whether that's through playstyle or even just deck building. So what do you think of this matchup overall?
It is pretty interesting, I would say, and I agree with the point on evolution. It's a matchup that's kind of changed back and forwards a couple of times, but generally it does seem to gravitate around the idea that Priest with weapon destruction is favored and Priest without weapon destruction is unfavored. But I think that is more so a Highlander Priest argument than it is a 2-of Priest argument. I think the 2-of's Priest can actually more effectively pressure, they can more effectively outlast, and particularly because of this build the Boar is playing against, where SilverName is playing the Skipper variation, there is just the opportunity for this deck to just run out of gas and just not quite get over the line. In terms of pushing damage, making threats, generating lackeys that you don't have, for example, in this version of the deck. And just for the Warrior to kind of run out of value and Boar to be able to stabilize. And this is really one of the matchups that Boar called out specifically as to one of the reasons why he was leaving this version of the deck up.
All right, we'll have to see if it pays off for him here. Is a pretty big decision. Already SilverName getting hold of that Corsair cash to start the game with, so I must be feeling at least pretty happy about that, because that's the one thing you don't want to do is struggle to get hold of those weapons in the early game. BoarControl doesn't have a bad early game himself, even with this Draconic Studies being able to, at worst, unlock a Cobalt Spellkin that one turn earlier.
Yeah.
It feels like he's got at least a reasonable opening here with the help of a one maker as well.
You can consider the curve implications of playing Cleric of Scales first here. Obviously, it's a much weaker play. It's just kind of sacking the Cleric on board to the 1-2. But there are certain spells he could pick up, which maybe would affect the way his curve plays out. But I think, on reflection, Draconic Studies on 1 here does make the most sense.
Right. It's just one of those things as well. It's not that BoarControl is expecting a Cleric of Scales to get in there for 15 damage this game, but it does just instantly get farmed by what's on board as well, right? So it's maybe just that extra small thing that made him go for the Draconic. He gets another one. Oh.
Who in their right mind hides loot?
He's just going to coin out the spell, can get the minion down early. And this is one of the benefits of the shape of this minion is, as an aggressive tool, it's often not that amazing, but it's just got 5 health, and it's only turn 4 here, which means SilverName can't actually kill it, even if he does go for this Wrench Caliber play right now.
Yeah, I like this, and I also like, from Boar's perspective, the amount of Draconic Studies he's generating, because I really think that is one of the most powerful cards in the matchup. Just continues to create that ability where it's a little bit of ramp, which obviously is nice and effective. It's exactly that scenario you're talking about here, where the 3/5 is able to come down ahead of curve. But it also just makes sure you have consistent threats if you're trying to be aggressive, or consistent defense if you're trying to be defensive. There's a lot of really juicy Taunt Dragons that you can pick up to stall, but there's also just Plagued Proto-Drakes and all of this other business that you can pick up immediately.
Yeah, we are going to see one, as you mentioned it, be acquired there for BoarControl. And I agree completely. I think even as a general plan versus Warrior, if you can just drop a minion that's decently sized every single turn of the game, which is what this feels like, then yeah, Warriors are going to struggle, and especially if it's a 2-mana 4/9, does use up the ramp effect of the Draconic Studies, but well used, at least in my opinion here, Sol.
That upgrade is a disgusting draw for SilverName. Gives him the Bladestorm clear now, nice and easy.
Yeah, incredibly clutch, honestly, because that was the one thing BoarControl's probably counting on, is that this 4/9 doesn't die. And he knows as soon as he sees the trade, he's like, well, I know what's coming now.
Yep. And now this is the bad turn for Boar. He would have loved, I think, to have had a minion stick there, because then he gets Cleric of Scales, Apotheosis potentially as an out. Oh, Ray's dead, though. That hits the Twilight Drake again, and there it is. Boom!
Wings of destruction they come.
Oh, wow. Oh, another Ray's dead?
Another Draconic Studies, Raven. It's like you don't listen to me.
But he can already raise dead into a dragon. Except he might get 2. I do think raise dead into like Spellkin Twilight Drake again would be pretty sick.
Yeah.
But you are completely right. I think the big thing here is it's Draconic Studies next turn into a 7-cost dragon the turn after, right? I think that's the at least top-level game plan he's after for now.
Potentially, yes. So there's no real merit into dropping the Aeon Reaver on curve, most likely, so it seems like Boar will be looking to put together some kind of Draconic Studies turn next turn.
Right.
Plague Drake down.
It does mean he might take a turn off though. If he, if his development is actually just Wand Maker Draconic Studies, then it is a little bit slow. And I think SilverName just gave BoarControl a bit of an idea on what his game plan is, which is just keep hitting the face right now.
Yes. I think here between Renew, Wand Maker, and so on, he should be able to piece together something fairly effective here. Gift of Luminance, very nice. Dark Prophecy, pretty nice as well, honestly.
Oh, Luminance? So Dark Prophecy, I think, is just better overall, but Luminance could really just mess with SilverName's turn, right? Give the 4/10 Divine Shield and then make a 1/1 Divine Shield with a normal 1/1 on board.
Interesting.
Like, that's just awkward for Warrior, right?
So I'm curious with the Whispers pick, what Boar is intending to spend his mana on this turn? One Maker, 1-cost
Heal?
spell, and just heal, I guess? Sure. Twilight Drake again? Don't say it, Raven. I don't want to hear about how he could have just got that from the Raised Dead.
Okay. Well, there could have been 2 Twilight Drakes on the board. Just want to point that out there.
Nothing if not predictable.
No Brawl here for SilverName, along with no armor for a Shield Slam either, means that his options are fairly limited. I do wonder what the potential of actually just going Blastmaster with the swing this turn looks like. It's a little bit annoying because there's just a 4/10 on board, which, can soak a lot of bombs, and I guess that might be a good enough reason to just skip and actually just use this turn to play Galakron.
Yeah, I think the Skipper is also a pretty good reason to skip, because he can then just get immediate value out of his Boombots, make sure they don't get hit by the Soul Mirror or anything like that. Could just be a Galakron turn, or it could just be cutting class. I think if he was going to cut in class, it should have happened by now, so he had time to reevaluate. SilverName is just going to play the Boom, though.
Hand is too full.
BoarControl burns a Spellkin. Not the end of the world right now, I don't think. It's more than enough to do.
So Boar can go Aeon Reaver here, potentially, and start picking this apart then with the bombs, with quite a lot of health on board to potentially soak it up. Could use Shadow of Death if he wants to have more mana available. I guess he can go Twilight Drake, Shadow of Death, if he wants to get maximum health on the board to soak bombs.
Yeah, I was looking at Twilight Drake something just because it is a ludicrous number for these bombs to get through, right? So
Yeah.
I do actually like BoarControl for going for this.
The scary thing here, I guess, is Barov. Like, even if you are able to clean up the bombs and don't take too much damage, you still have these two giant 10 health minions. Then get messed with by Barov on the following turn, but can't play around everything in Boar's spot, I don't think. That's fine. That's a little bit worse.
Okay, I did wonder whether he was going to renew on the Twilight Drake, actually, but that might be going a bit deep. It's only 5 health now, though.
Yeah.
Does have a Galakrond Shield Slam to just say no to that one.
Does. It's interesting because you could also go Galakrond Shield Slam on the right and then attack into the one on... Sorry, Galakrond Shield Slam on the left and then attack into the one on the right to make it to get it down to 1 health and then start trading Boombots in.
Or it could just be upgrade Go Face.
Yeah, with the shield block now as well, that's really unlocked the potential of his hand. Oh, there's the Barov!
And he gets to weave in the upgrade anyway. Insane. Is there a world that this is an upgrade swing Barov Go?
He's going to skip her instead, maximize the damage, it looks like. He's doing it this way. Yeah.
I guess he just has Horde Pillager upgrade next turn or Wrench Caliber upgrade next turn. He doesn't have to play it right now.
Right.
3, 6, 7. Okay. Not bad.
Yeah, slightly below
He has
average.
to swing, right?
He has Galakrond Hero Power next turn, which might put him off swinging, just making sure he has the weapon equipped for getting full value out of the damage, but I don't know. Swing also seems fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm purely just adding up the amount of swings he has this game.
Yeah,
With Wrench Caliber upgrade and Horde Pillager, he could just Wrench Caliber every single turn for the rest of the game, more than likely. Choose to hold on. Halo, suddenly this tempo plan from BoarControl has been swept out the way with the help of Barov there. Those 2 Twilight Drakes were looking to be quite the problem.
He's going to drop the Murazond here. He does get a shield block out of it as a bare minimum. Looking for Apotheosis and other healing options here. Doesn't find it, and he is now going to burn his next card as well.
Does have double Shield Slam with the Galakrond available if he wants it. It could actually just go Galakrond 1 Shield Slam and still upgrade and go.
I wonder.
Does he look at Deathwing?
Wouldn't have thought so. Like the Galakrond line is a lot more attractive here. Let's get that Galakrond down nice and early.
There's a few things he can do now as well. With the extra damage, just an armor up Shield Slam would achieve the goal of killing the Murazond.
Yeah, I want to achieve the goal of getting my Galakrond in play though.
Hey, I went to last turn, okay?
Oh, Krastenov is the big boy that gets drawn as well.
Yeah, that's insane. It's close to just being the best one to come off from that. Now, not only is there the unlimited weapon charges, okay, that's funny, but there is just the frank hero power. So even though that bomb got burnt, you might think, oh no, that's really bad for SilverName. It's not what he wanted to see, but SilverName can just kill him with weapon damage this game now, and that's one of the options that the Galakrond inclusion in Bomb Warrior has unlocked. It's not all about the bombs.
Yeah, completely agree.
There's just 2 turns set up, arguably, here now from SilverName.
Yep, shield slam. Huge chance that Krasnov just takes care of whatever comes out.
Wait for the Krasnov Boar. Oh, you'll
Boar's
see.
nodding is going to intensify in T-minus 3 seconds. Alright, it's actually reached critical mass. It's no longer nodding. It's no longer nodding.
Red alert, red alert. The casual 9 swing putting BoarControl down to 6.
Yeah.
And he only has 9 cards, so this could be a bomb. It is not. And this is you don't really dig yourself out of these situations, right? There's still the weapon swing. There's still the hero power for another 9 in total from SilverName minimum next turn. And that's if BoarControl kills the Krasnov. There's just too much to do.
Yep.
He does have the Galakrond, along with a heal,
Thy blood be born again.
which achieves something.
Yeah, that heals the wrong person.
Right, can he find a way to give him the minion?
Yeah.
Needs that Warlock card, right?
Can I donate you my hench clan?
But you have to kill it off. Just Blade Storm next.
Alright, I figured it out. You play Galakrond, you press the hero power button, you generate an Elucia, you play the Elucia, SilverName just plays the hench clan.
Genius. Genius.
Solved.
You always play Henchclan in that scenario when you're looking for lethal.
Yep.
It just has to be Galakrond.
Agreed.
He isn't going to go for the heal first, though.
Trying to play some minions that SilverName either has to sink some damage into or he can potentially get value out of on the following turn. So he kind of needs minions in play here as well, right? Because I believe he still has 2 Apotheosis left remaining in his deck, so that's his big impact of healing on this turn, but it doesn't really do anything unless he has minions in play at the start of the turn.
Yep, nice easy Deathwing here to clean these up.
Mm-hmm. This will get hit by the Cabal Acolyte Wave of Apathy on the other side, though. It's a big deal. SilverName should be fine with that, though, because he does still have the clear potentially lined up, at least, for the Cabal Acolyte with the Blade Storm, and then can just continue to Wrench Caliber face, as long as there's no other small minions changing the Blade Storm breakpoints.
Priority 1 is just don't let him have anything for Apotheosis, or something silly, you know, like Apotheosis something into Apotheosis again, or, you know, something very silly to come out here. Like, just make this secure. If he steals the Deathwing, whatever. Like you said, there is a light play. And there's the Apotheosis.
It is indeed.
It's actually like Aeon Reaver Cabal actually just better this turn. I guess not. I guess he wants the Death.
Raven, hello? You okay over there?
Well, I'm just. It's because I guess I was locked in on him not necessarily having or wanting to Apotheosis this turn. So I was just trying to see if there's anything else he can do with his mana to make a more full turn. Just because you generally don't want to preemptively Apotheosis and then see it Blade Stormed or Brawled away. He needs to do it on an active attack, right?
Yeah, he does, but you've already seen one Blade Storm, so maybe the line is the second one isn't there and you just do it anyway.
Which is fine, like I said, I was just exploring the options for BoarControl.
Yeah.
He probably does just have to go for it and hope there's no bombs, hope there's nothing to get through, hope there's no Blade Storm, so on.
Or visibly fully clenched this turn.
Cheeky Holy Nova here to go up to... Oh wait, still not enough to survive a bomb.
No. It's not enough to survive the Wrench Caliber that you know is in hand as well, because you mind-visioned it. As long as the taunt can get dug through. Yeah, okay. Right, good.
I think, honestly, I think SilverName was just sat there going, this definitely does what I want it to do, right? So I'm not going to lie. I've done the odd Blade Storm where I have not actually calculated what the implications of that card sometimes, and it feels very silly. But yeah, SilverName going to take his game number 2 with that Warrior, and just the relentless damage, not only from the weapon, But you do see the impact, the addition. I mean, it was an addition that happened a while ago, but when players started dropping Galakrond into this Bomb Warrior list, it felt like the most correct card to add to the list I've ever seen, because it is just more and more damage, and it is relentless, and it does win you some of those more awkward matchups.
I completely agree. Yeah, when I first saw it in the deck, I expected to hate it, but it took me maybe 2 games of playing it to just be like, this is the card. You can even like win games on this when you don't get the Wrench Caliber, or when you get your Wrench Caliber stolen or destroyed. You can even still win games with Galakrond because it's so much damage over time. But even outside of the Galakrond there from SilverName, like that was every wrench, every upgrade, giant Krastenov, both Blade Storms, like everything you could have possibly wanted in that matchup to be able to blow through board. The Barov on that super clutch turn with the Blastmaster Boom as well. And I think you saw Boar's reaction to the situation as he was kind of saying much the same thing as I am here. It was just every single answer that SilverName needed. And it's very frustrating to play against Bomb Warrior when that happens, because you just play a minion, they kill it, and they hit you in the face. And that's the whole game. Every turn. That's all that happens. And it's a pretty miserable feeling to lose that way.
Yeah, and that is a reason why Bomb Warrior is, played a lot on ladder, represented highly in Grandmasters. It's been banned a lot in Masters tours. Like, even though players might be going off a little bit, respecting it as much as it has had in the past, it is still very powerful when it gets to do the thing it wants to do. It is almost unstoppable. But it does mean that SilverName does only have his mage to take a win with. And, if you're a SilverName fan you've been following along with, and you might have missed yesterday, this is not Highlander mage that SilverName has been stuck on for a while. He has, sort of, I guess, just dealt with the fact that Highlander Mage was not doing what he wanted it to do, and he switched over to the general tempo variety here. So a lot hanging on this one game and this one deck specifically for SilverName.
Yeah, his build has double Arcane Intellect in it, which is a little bit unusual. It does play the natural Conjurer's Calling, none of that orange dragon package with the Arcane Breaths and Cobalt Spellkins, trying to gain his resources in other ways. So that does, create a little spot where potentially it can still run out of value, but playing 2 Arcane Intellect goes a long way to be able to mitigate that, because a lot of the time we only see these lists being run with 1 when they're not running the dragon package instead.
Yeah, and it looks like BoarControl just saying, yep, one more time, queuing that Priest once again. So we are going to start off with the Priest-Mage matchup. Obviously, BoarControl does need to take a win now with every single one of his decks, one after the other, to be able to take this series and make himself feel significantly safer, even though it's still at the bottom of the division at that point. He'll still be low down. This isn't I get to go to 4-0 at this point. This is just, I cannot let SilverName beat me right now, because that's one of those, I think, moments that can really unlock a lot of shenanigans when it comes down to tiebreakers, points, and where everyone actually ends up sitting at the end of the round robin.
Yeah, that's it. This is the head-to-head, right, of 2 of the players that could be towards the bottom, towards the end of the season. So if the head-to-head tiebreaker goes one way or the other, that almost makes this win count double in certain scenarios.
Right. We're kicking it off. BoarControl. An early Raised Dead and Holy Smite. Looks like it could turn into something pretty powerful in this early game. But SilverName, what do you make of this mulligan, Sottle? I think, as ever, the mage mulligan's always tricky.
Spell damage and spell damage, definitely pretty attractive here if you want to mulligan the other 2 and look for Cram Session here. Being high on resources is key against Priest. You need to be able to go fast, go long, although we did see yesterday kind of the opposite approach, where it was just outright aggression against a deck that wasn't playing Holy Smites and Penances in their deck to be able to answer these early 3-2s. But either way, honestly, playing a 1-3 into a 3-2 kind of supports both schools of thought, right? Where if you hit Cram Session, you're in business. If you hit more minions, you're in business with just curving out and trying to hit your opponent. So right. I certainly like the spell damage. I'm a little bit surprised by Ray Cyclone keep there as well. I think you kind of have to commit to one game plan or the other here. And I really think if you're keeping double spell damage, there's a lot of merit in mulliganing quite hard for Cram Session and Raz, to be fair, to go along with that.
I will say, one, I personally I never understand Cyclone keeps this early in the, for Mulligan. But the Ray of Frost is an awfully good answer to a Sethic on curve, right? Because that's the tricky one, right? If BoarControl plays Sethic now, then it dies. So I do understand Ray of Frost a little bit more than the Mana Cyclone, at least from where I'm looking at it. It's just Cram Session now as well, which is pretty sweet pickup for SilverName.
What to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the card I was saying you should probably try mulligan for with this opening. SilverName 4 keeps and then hits it immediately. He has about the best spell damage curve as he can possibly come up with here.
This Pyromancer is standing in the way, though, and I do wonder whether it is it worth the Ray of Frost twice on and then set up for something a little bit later with the Astromancer? Or do you think he has to just play it and go? Because this Pyromancer is going to get a value trade.
It is. It is indeed. There's a couple of ways to go about it. You could double Ray of Frost it right now. You could also Astromancer coin Ray of Frost it. So if you double Ray of Frost it, the plan would be to Astromancer coin Cram Session on the following turn for all of the card draw. If you Astromancer coin Ray of Frost it, the plan is to just play Cram Session on curve the following turn. But this is the third option, which is just doing nothing.
Is this one of those kind of no news is good news kind of plays, or is that what it's hoping for here? Because this looks like it gives BoarControl all of the options in the world onto how he wants best to deal with this board. Whereas even just one Ray of Frost has just with coin it dramatically limits what BoarControl can answer this board with. I'm a little bit surprised SilverName has gone for this. The payoff, of course, is he gets to keep a coin.
Yeah, and with Raz in hand, keeping that coin is valuable. I think we saw SilverName mousing over the Raz that turn and just considering what that means. But coining Raz is not going to be very effective if you're not working to protect your spell damage minions for your Cram Session, right? Because it protects them for both. It's kind of the point.
And now there's even... Okay. I did wonder there whether it was the let it die and play the Cleric instead, and then just have 2 minions for his Raised Dead next turn, potentially. Either way, I think it would look good, but this Cleric's not going anywhere. It's going to be active for forever at this point because the Murzond is in hand, of course. It's just always coin out Magi, right?
Into a 3-1 Pyromancer.
Yep, always.
What to do? What to do?
It's still Blood Mage, right?
Yeah, just does all the things he wants it to do, right? Again, the next question is he going to coin out Cram Session with that Blood Mage? Is he going to hold on? Because this Cram Session just keeps getting worse the way I'm looking at it.
I think he might just take Blood Mage and ping this turn and then set up for the card draw next turn.
Okay. And then that then, hopefully for SilverName, of course, leads into the Raz.
Right.
Either way.
Whoa.
Oh, SilverName, if you would have coined, it would have been so fun. I would have started to think I do have like a weird sort of superpower to just make players make bad plays.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the first time, Sol, and that's what's scary.
It was lethal on board, and I made fun of you for it, and then he just did it anyway. Oh,
told you. It's just coming down as the tempo play here from BoarControl. Nothing else to do. Did have the option of Raise Dead, but it would only give him the Pyro there.
Yep. Yeah, quite a lot of Boar's hand just shut down right now by not having those Raised Deads active. As soon as he starts a Raised Dead train on this Cleric of Scales, he is going to be in business, though, because then he can then start picking up Draconic Studies, Apotheosis, like whatever he needs to really get this hand going.
Yeah, he did have the option to do that in the previous turn with their slightly different Pyro play.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't have left a Pyro on board for him to be able to like make it awkward for the SilverName's following turn. So there are benefits, of course, and negatives to both those options.
Right. So now the Raised Dead is live. Naturally drew Draconic Studies, though. This is kind of awkward, because I think another big part of the reason why the Kaj was played for tempo is that Boar doesn't mind it being dead, because he can then just get that in his Raised Dead pool. But actually here, like, Raised Dead or Cleric then gives you the option to Cleric into Apotheosis, potentially, right?
Yeah, he really
Still
wants to Kaj this Raz, though, doesn't he? He missed first time.
Oh, boy.
the only noise I can make that I think describes how Boar feels right now.
Yeah, and this is definitely the right line now that I look at it, because even keeping the Kaj alive, you don't have enough mana to go Cleric and Pyro and Apotheosis, which is what you would need to do to actually get the good trade on board.
Yeah, he just wanted a Raz, right? He just wants a Raz on his side of the board against Mage, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
On wings of destruction they come.
No.
Let's get Apotheosis. And now at least what this means is SilverName can't trade into this Feywing with his Raz and have the 1 damage extra as well.
Right.
As Feywing is very, very annoying for SilverName to actually deal with here.
Yo, this Ogre Magi, though.
Might have been the game-winning choice, so. It's just going to be able to attack next turn, isn't it?
Currently stands, yes. If you really want to spare yourself the humiliation of being attacked by an Ogre Magi, you could renew or Cleric of Scales for a Shadower Death, and then Apotheosis the Ogre Magi.
And then you'd be having some embarrassment for other reasons, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
pick your poison. Oh, it just nothing fits, does it?
Nope.
It's like BoarControl's been given 4 different puzzles, but only a third, like a quarter of the pieces. He's got to make one picture out of all of them. Just doesn't quite add up. Cleric of Scales, I'm not even sure what he could use to dig himself out, because he's already used a Holy Smite, which I think he got earlier on, right?
He did use his Smite, yeah.
Told you. Ogre Magi was just the pick.
It's just nutty.
Now pretty easy Shemvala double Ray of Frost with a magic trick.
I wonder.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
It does use up a chunk of the cheap spells for that Mana Cyclone that let's bear in mind SilverName kept in his opening hand. But
Yep.
it puts a ton of pressure on board. But it is going to go into Soul Mirror turn, so a lot of questions here for SilverName.
Yeah, and it's, why I was kind of against that keep is that the hand just didn't play well together. Like, when you have so much spell damage in your opening hand, you're going to want to use your spells for tempo, because you have so much spell damage, right? Like, so you're not going to hold them all and greed them and line up this big Cyclone turn. Like, you're just going to use them and just be ahead on board and push minions.
Yeah, and the positive of playing this into a Soul Mirror turn for SilverName, it means it doesn't completely destroy him, right? He keeps a Shemvala, which then, you've got to look at his hand and think he'll be able to build on that, even if it's a little bit wonky with a Wand Maker and an Evocation.
Yeah. So Boar's lining up the Pyro Shadow Madness here instead. 1 damage to the Shemvala, take care of the Ogre Magi. He is a long way behind right now. He is just surviving. That is about all he's got right now. He has some great options coming up if he can hit a really sick Mirror or a really sick Soul Mirror that can just be game-defining. But right now, he's just scrambling to survive. That's not the spot you want to be in when you are 1-2 in Division B and 0-2 down against your #1 rival for relegation right now.
Yeah, the good thing here is, at least the way it is possibly going to pan out for BoarControl, is he might well be having a Murazon turn that generates a lot of either card draw or just cards in hand. Because just looking at this Arcane Intellect, Magic Trick, Wand Maker, obviously Wand Maker doesn't go off, but if there's then a spell after that from the Wand Maker to help out, all these options could make this Murazon at least decent and maybe help dig him out of this mess. Because for me, one of the biggest problems for BoarControl right now is he has some powerful plays, but he doesn't have a lot of options.
Runs out on me. You don't pick the ones.
Ray of Frost yet again.
Gonna use it to protect the 5/4 elemental. The Cyclone finally comes down.
Yeah. Double Secret Brain Freeze though, not the one here. So 2 Ray of Frost, a Magic Trick, a 2/2 and a 2/2.
I think
Might just have to be good enough.
Okay. Is Boar ever considering just a Soul Mirror with a Cleric of Scales? And just say, you know what? That was a bit of a weak turn. He got a lot of cards, but those are spells. Do I just get rid of this board? I can't really kill this 5/4, sorry, at the moment. If you just Soul Mirror and pass, like maybe that just gives him enough time to follow up with. He's not gone for that instead. Gonna go for that Sethic. Does get hold of the Shadow Word Death to clear up the 5/4, which does help. Wow, him generate a Breath of the Infinite. That actually worked out very well for Boar.
It did, and that was the other outcome I was thinking of. Problem is that was kind of rare because he only plays 1 Shadow Word Death in his deck. That was obviously the best option he went out for in that scenario, is picking up the Death and then starting the Sethic train. But that was the second line I was considering after the Mirrors on that turn. It worked out about as perfectly as it possibly could, which, speaking of about as perfect as it possibly could, this Jandis.
Yeah, pretty strong. I really like Scrap Golem as a card. It's a shame it doesn't really get seen too often, but yeah, this is very, very solid, honestly. It's just more stuff for BoarControl to get through. Although, I guess on the other side of that, it does make that Soul Mirror potentially pretty good for BoarControl as well.
Yeah, that is true. It's true, I suppose.
Because this is the issue, right? BoarControl has dealt with the he's going to die soon, or at least he dealt with it last turn a little bit. He needs stuff to do, which is why now I think if he goes for the Soul Mirror this turn,
yeah,
then can go off with, hopefully for him, a Murazon that will generate something the turn after, because SilverName, if he just doesn't overcommit each turn, he is just going to starve BoarControl of resources, whether that's the plan or not.
It's fair. He still has 2 Cabal Acolytes left in his deck as well, which could have been potentially insane here with the Wave of Apathy. Still get one here, I suppose. That's interesting. Doesn't now have the mana for the Soul Mirror and the immediate shadowy figure.
Is there a world where he goes Wave of Apathy to build into a bigger Soul Mirror turn the turn after? Are you expecting a lot of minions after seeing a lot of spells generated from Mage? I don't think so. Maybe
No.
a Mana Giant, but again, I think the Mana Giant would have been played by now if it was active. And that's just funny.
Like it says, it summons copies of the minion, and then they attack each other.
SilverName really is just a 1 apprentice away from a good time right now.
As is almost always the case with this deck.
Yep.
Arcane Intellect. Boar will now be watching this turn very, very carefully as to whether he can just drop Murazond in response to this, because that Arcane Intellect is going to be the business that he's looking for, potentially. Also, no, don't ping. Play cards.
Play like 3 more Arcane Intellects.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we've been talking about this a lot, because of course we can see Murazond in hand for BoarControl. Do you think SilverName, do you think he's considering this that much, or is he just going on with his best turn possible?
He'll certainly be considering it. I think any experienced Hearthstone player when playing against Priest knows that Murazond is one of the biggest gotcha cards that they have, so you always keep it in the back of your mind at least when you're considering your turns. And that could very honestly be a deliberate play around from SilverName where he knew he cast Arcane Intellect. So to mitigate that, he then also played Conjurer's Calling, which is a potential disaster for Boar on the Murazond turn, right?
Yep. Holy smack coming out of the Spelkin there is pretty nice, honestly. At least it helps him clean up something. Can we see BoarControl hold off on this Wave of Apathy? There are some great potential opportunities for it in the near future if you can get hold of the Acolyte. But there's also just, he could have just had a full one here instead. There's been other times where he could have just gained like a little bit of tempo on board due to it. But is just holding on for it for that more impactful turn in the future.
Right.
It's tough though, because if he ends up dying with a wave of apathy in hand, you do have to sit back and think about it a little bit.
Might just be Magic Trick again. Okay, Missiles is actually fairly attractive, though. It's actually one of the most consistent burn spells in this deck a lot of the time, believe it or not.
He does have a sprinkling of spell damage as well, doesn't he? Mana Reservoir and the Lab Partner in hand. Like, not too bad.
This is now just approaching a dangerous Murazon turn, though, if SilverName keeps walking down this path. He needs to play enough minions that he's just threatening lethal against a Murazon at this point.
You could also just trade the 5/5 in and then Conjures it as well to make the Murazon potentially wonky as well.
That's fair,
that seems reasonable.
I just want to go face.
Oh, I agree. I agree. And maybe the secret makes things a little bit different because it then just means SilverName gets an 8/8 as well if Murazon gets played.
Yep, love it.
Actually, pretty nice setup, I think, from SilverName. He's never really given BoarControl a strong Murazon turn apart from arguably now, but the punish is huge.
Yep, this is just baiting the Murazon now. SilverName has the punish lined up in two different ways, essentially. One, that he just has a bunch of minion presence that doesn't really get addressed by anything he played that turn, apart from one Brain Freeze. And secondly, the fact that your opponent is now getting an 8/8, and Boar has now learned that as he saw what secret he has been given, and now knows that the opponent has an 8/8 on board. Now that Wave of Apathy Raven, now it has to be used.
Agreed. That's the payoff. Still a little bit spicy though, because what, he can take 1 damage off the board and there's still what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yep. Radiance can come down though. A little bit of a buffer back up to 15. Boar does have the board now! Never mind. No, he doesn't.
Wait. Can SilverName play that?
He's SilverName. He can do whatever he wants, Raven.
True.
Somehow the mirror entity will find a way to resolve before the puzzle box that this thing casts, and everything will be fine.
It'll be like Solayon Prime Flare that works, and you'll be like, how's this even worked?
Yeah.
Even though that is broken on many levels.
That's nothing. That's nothing. Very little. That is also very little. That is an extremely miserable Prime. Now there goes the mirror entity. Uh-oh.
Amazing. Time runs out on me.
So honestly, like, SilverName things aside, did he need to prime that turn? He had Conjurer's Calling, he had options from Evocation, he knew what the secret was, so he had full information.
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit giddy, honestly.
I am also a little bit suspect of that Prime. Oh.
BoarControl does have a lot of secrets to try and tiptoe through here.
Yeah.
And I believe one was Counterspell, right? Am I making that up?
Spellbender.
Ah, right.
Yep. Afraid we got some bad news, Boar.
Was he trying to aim that at his own face? Like, can you make my minions attack my own face to just end it all now?
7/7s and the 8/8s can trade, of course. So Boar is not quite just out of this yet, but that evocation in hand, it's got to be pretty close.
He also has Conjurers for the taunt if he feels the need to get through in some different way. Obviously, he doesn't have lethal as minions on board, but still.
6 is a sketchy spot to be trying that little gimmick in, though, because there are a few taunt minions hanging around that it can get transformed into.
It is. I definitely think it would be a last attempt, right?
Yes.
If he obviously evocations and has better options, then he'll dive for that first.
Right.
I'm session for 3, even not a bad start. But if he starts doing that, he's probably that'll like turn him off the evocation, right? If he's going to draw a load of cards.
Mm-hmm.
You ever just like Tome of Intellect first?
Tome of Intellect first?
Guess not.
Hmm.
Evocation's kind of like a Tome of Intellect. It's the
Right.
whole collection.
I think you just rip the Evo, because if you see a Pexis Blast or Fireball, you can go for
Yeah,
the
it's
lethal
just-
with the Conjurer's Calling.
Blizzard. Was that Polymorph?
Polymorph?
Yep, Polymorph is an option. Ray of Frost
Blizzard
as well
is-
will just get through.
Blizzard
Yeah,
is 4 to everything, though. Like, that's
Yeah.
just insane here.
The
The
Ray of
Draconic
Frost.
quest completed, can fit this Tome of Intellect in, and then just start dropping Rays
Oh.
to push the minions through
Hang on.
here.
Okay, yeah, did have the mana.
No.
Quick check. But that Frostbolt is going to be pretty nice. Well, that was off the Tome, right?
You have been.
The Frostbolt was off the generated Tome.
I was about to be very smug then for a second, but less about me, more about SilverName as he takes this victory 3-0 over BoarControl. And the must-win match for him has happened. He has won, which means him and BoarControl are on the same score now, and both still sitting, not having the best of time in the division, but most importantly for SilverName, there is a small ray of hope right now as he has opened up a door to try and keep up with the rest of the crew.
Yeah, a small ray of hope opened up by a large ray of frost at the end of that game to be able to push through that Violet Warden very, very cleanly. But it was a rough game to watch, honestly, as a Boar fan, because it didn't really feel like he had a lot of agency in a lot of those games. You know, the Bomb Warrior matchup was just one of those matchups you play against Bomb Warrior every now and again, where they just hit every weapon, every upgrade, every removal, and there just doesn't really seem to be a way to generate a game plan a lot of the time. And then in the very next matchup, he did generate a game plan. His game plan was to get a bunch of Karges and use those to fight for board very aggressively, and then whiffed on that completely with both of the raised deads handing him the two weaker options in that scenario. From that point, he never really recovered. I do think SilverName did a very good job. Probably at some point developed a read on Murazond being the card in hand and was playing around that very nicely in the late game stages. But I do have some questions about his early game sequencing there, particularly in the mulligan and kind of the weird hybrid keep between two conflicting game plans in the way he mulliganed.
Yeah, for me, just the big questions from SilverName, even though, of course, he did win.